Welcome back, children of grade 8, for our today's English class. Today, in this session, we are going to see Chapter 9 Prose from our textbook Honeydew. The title of the chapter, The Great Stone Face, Part 1 and 2 by Nathaniel Hawthorne. Children, before getting into the story, let's see about the author, Nathaniel Hawthorne. Nathaniel Hawthorne, he was an American fiction writer, best known for his novel, The Scarlet Letter. He was born in Salem, Massachusetts in the year 1804. He was one of those rare writers who drew critical acclaim during his lifetime. Even today, readers still appreciate Hawthorne's work for its storytelling qualities and for the moral and theological questions it raises. In his early years, he was predominantly a short story writer, but later acquired famous as a novelist too. His published works include novels, short stories, and the biography of his college friend Franklin Prince, the 14th President of the United States. Children, that's all from the author. Let's see the character sketch of the story now. Children, the first character and the protagonist of the story is Ernest. He is upright, hardworking, and a benevolent. Benevolent means kind. Presents to his neighbors. He spends his leisure hours gazing at a mountain rock formation called the Great Stone Face. So, Ernest, he is the first character and our protagonist of our story. Let's move on to the next character of the story, that is Ernest's mother. So look at here, loving woman. Ernest's mother, she is a loving mother who tells her son about an old stories predicting that a child born in the valley below the Great Stone Face will become the greatest person of his time. The story says his face will resemble the one of the mountain. So that was the second character, Ernest's mother. Moving to the third character, Mr. Gathergold. Mr. Gathergold is the third character. He is a wealthy merchant who is a native of the valley. He arrives in the valley during his end of the days. Look at the next character, children. Old Blood and Thunder. So he is a great general who is a native of the valley, returned in valley after becoming old and tired. Then the next fifth character is Statesman. He is a great orator who is a native of the valley. Then the sixth character is Poet. He is a great writer who is a native of the valley who declared that Ernest resembles as Great Stone Face. He is the last and final character of our story, the Great Stone Face. So that's all from the character sketch, children. Let's see the summary of the story now. Let's see the summary of the story, the Great Stone Face. One afternoon, a mother with her son, Ernest, was at the door of their cottage. They were talking about the Great Stone Face. It was clearly visible in the bright sunshine. Thousands of people lived there. Everybody there was familiar with the Great Stone Face. It was a work of the nature. One day the Great Stone Face smiled on Ernest and looked kindly. He wished to hear its pleasant voice. He longed to see a man with such a face in order to love him dearly. There was a man called Gathergold. He had left his native place many years ago. He had become quite rich man there. He desired to return to his native valley. There was a rumor that Gathergold looked like the great stone face. Gathergold had the face of an old man with yellow skin. The people consider him the image of the great stone face. Ernest gazed up the valley. The great stone face seemed to reject Gathergold as its likeliness. Ernest had grown up to be a young man. Every day he would go off by himself and gaze upon the great stone face. He wondered why its likeness was delaying its appearance. By his time, Gathergold had become poor and died without his likeness with the stone face. After Son of the Valley had joined the army as a soldier many years before. He had become a general by then and came to be known as Blood and Thunder on the battle. In his old age, he desired to return to his valley. The people consider him as the likeness of the great stone face. On his return, he was welcomed warmly. The gathering mistook him as the greatest man of all time. Ernest failed to recognize any likeness between Blood and Thunder and the great stone face. His heart assured him that the real face had still to come. So children, that's all from the summary of the part 1 of Great Stone Face. Let's see the summary of the second part of the chapter Great Stone Face. Summary of part 2 of the chapter. Ernest still lived in his native valley. He was simple-hearted man. He always worked for the betterment of the world. Though he was considered to be an ordinary man, yet he was humble and rich in thought. With the passage of time, Ernest became old. He had wise thoughts in his mind. He had become famous all over the world. Men come from distant places to see and speak to him. A new poet had appeared on earth while Ernest had been growing old. The poet was a native of Ernest's Valley, but he had lived in distant cities from a long period. The poet had heard of Ernest's characters. One day he came to his door. Ernest was reading a book and glancing lovely at the mountain from time to time. Ernest gave him shelter for the night. The great stone face looked kindly at the poet. The poet found Ernest wise, gentle, and kind. Ernest used to speak to his neighbors every evening. The poet also accompanied him. The poet listened to his talk. The poet also accompanied him. The poet listened to his talk. He felt that Ernest's life and character were a far nobler kind of poetry than his own poems. Just then, the poet saw the great stone face. He declared Ernest as the likeness of the great stone face. Everybody agreed with him. Ernest still hoped that someone wiser and better than himself would appear sometime, bearing a likeness to the great stone face. Children, that's all from the summary of the part 2 of chapter Great Stone Face. Let's move on to the text now. Children, let's start the part 2 of the chapter, the Great Stone Face, chapter number 10. Take your textbook before you read. Let's see the summary of the story before you read. Many years passed. Ernest was now a man of middle age. To his neighbors, who never suspected that he was anything more than an ordinary and familiar face, he was only a humble and hard-working, though thoughtful person. But what about the old prophecy? Was it ever fulfilled? Let us read and find out. So, in the first part, we have seen the character, the small boy Ernest, and his childhood. Here, in the second part, he was become a young man, middle-aged man, and he was an ordinary, familiar face, humble and hardworking, thoughtful person. These are the characters of the young man Ernest. So, full prophecy. Was it fulfilled? Yes. Let's read and find out and see in this part 2 session what was happened, whether the prophecy is fulfilled or not. Look at the first paragraph of the story from page number 132. The years hurried on and brought white hairs upon the head of Ernest. So, years passed away and he got some white hairs on the head of Ernest and made wrinkles across his forehead, and furrows means deep lines. So he also got some wrinkles across his face and foreheads and deep lines in his cheeks. It shows he was become old. He was an old man, but not in vain. Had he grown old, more numerous than the white hairs on his head were the wise thoughts in. As I told you, the character Ernest, he grew older and older. Now he got some white hairs and he got some furrows in the cheeks. That means deep lines. Ernest had some wise thoughts in his mind. Children, that's all from the first page. Let's move on to the second page, page number 133. And Ernest had ceased to be obscure. Obscure means not well known. Ernest had ceased to be obscure means not well known. Unsought for, undesired had come the fame which so many seek. He had become famous beyond the limits of the valley. So, after some long time, he became very famous beyond the limits of the valley. College professors and even the active men of the cities come from far to see him and converse with Ernest, and he received them with gentle sincerity. So, his fame reached throughout the valley and the world. College professors, even the active men of the city, they also came from far away from the cities to converse, to talk to him, and he received them with gentle sincerity and spoke freely with them of whatever came uppermost. So he used to speak to them freely, and he used to receive some gentle sincerity and conversation between those peoples, like college professors and active men of the city. They came to him and they freely talked to the main character Ernest, or lay deepest in his heart or their own. While they talked together, his face would brighten unawares and shine upon them as with the mild evening light. So while he was talking with those such people, his face became brighten and shine upon them with the mild evening light. So this was from the first paragraph, children. Let's move on to the second paragraph now. See the meaning for unwares. Unknowingly brighten. Unknowingly it becomes brighten. Next paragraph. While Ernest had been growing, look at the second paragraph, children. While Ernest had been growing old, God had granted a new poet to this earth. He too was a native of the valley, but had spent the greater part of his life in distant cities, pouring out his sweet music everywhere. So here, as he became old, God granted with a gift, and he became a poet and named over throughout the world. He too was a native of the valley, but had spent the greater part of his life in distant cities. So Ernest used to stay outside of the cities or in those times, pouring out his sweet music everywhere. Neither was the great stone face forgotten, for the poet had celebrated in it a poem. So people, they forgot about the great stone face, but our character Ernest, after he became a poet, he celebrated, even though he mentioned in his own poems about the great stone face. The songs of this poet found their way to Ernest. The songs of this poet found their way to Ernest. He read them after his customary toil. He read them after his customary toil. Customary toil means usual work. So he used to read his own poem as after his regular work. After done his regular work. Seated on the bench after his cottage door. He used to sit on the bench before the cottage door. As he read, he lifted his eyes on the mountain. "O great stone face," he said, "is not this man worthy to be your likeness?" Look at the next passage, children. The face seemed to smile. So once he started to speak to the great stone face, the mountain, the face seemed to smile. The great stone face seemed to smile, but did not answer. Now it happened that the poet, though he lived so far away, had not only heard the Ernest, but had thought much about his character and wished to meet this man whose wisdom talked hand in hand with the noble simplicity of his life. So, now what happened? The poet, though he lived so far away, another poet, he heard about the Ernest and about his character and simplicity. The poet wants to meet Ernest as his wisdom was talked all throughout the country and the city. One summer day, therefore, he arrived at Ernest's door, where he found the good old man holding a book in his hand. Poet, he just holding a book in his hand, which he read and then, which that was he reading now, with a finger between the leaves, looked lovely at the great stone face. So that's all from the second paragraph, children. Let's move on to the third paragraph. "Evening," said the poet. "Can you give a traveler a night shelter?" "A night shelter?" "Gladly," answered Ernest. And then he added, smiling, "I think I never saw the great stone face look so hospitably at a stranger." Hospitably means gently or kindly. So that's all from the page number 133, children. Let's move on to page number 134 now. Look at the picture here, children. The poet sat down beside him. He and Ernest talked together. The poet sat down beside him, and he and Ernest talked together. Never before had the poet talked with a man like Ernest, so wise and gentle and kind. Ernest, on the other hand, was moved by the living image flung out of the poet's mind. As Ernest listened to the poet, he imagined that the great stone face was bending forward to listen to. He imagined that the great stone face also bending itself forward to listen to the poet's speech. He gazed into the poet's eyes. "Who are you, my gifted guest?" he asked. The poet laid his finger on the book that Ernest had been reading. Ernest had been reading. "You have read these lines," said he. "You know me, then, for I wrote them." Again and again, Ernest examined the poet's features. He returned towards the great stone face, then back. So, while seeing the poet, he thought maybe this man will be resemble the feature of great stone face. So he just read the poem lines and he said, "You know me then, for I wrote them." This was the line from the poem that was written by the poet. Again and again, Ernest just examined the poet's features and he correlated with the great stone face again. He shook his head and sighed. That means he disappointed. "Why are you sad?" inquired the poet. Asked the man Ernest, "Why are you sad?" Because, replied Ernest, "all through life I have awaited the fulfillment of the prophecy." So Ernest just seeing and waiting for the fulfillment of the prophecy. That was the reason for his disappointment. And when I read these poems, I hope that I might be fulfilled in you. "You hoped," answered the poet. So he just told about the great stone face and his poetry lines. He just faintly smiling to find in me the likeness of the great stone face. I am not worthy to be its likeness. So the poet, he himself telling that I am not worthy to be its likeness. So children, that's all from page number 134. Let's move on to page number 135. "And why not?" asked Ernest. He pointed to the book. "Are not those thoughts worthy?" He just telling that here. "And why not?" asked Ernest to the poet. He just pointed in the book. Ernest here he is asking these questions to the poet, that you have pointed about the great stone face in your book. Is it worthy or not? You can hear in them the distant voice of the heavenly song. You can hear in them the distant voice of a heavenly song, but my life, dear Ernest, has not corresponded with my thoughts. I have had grand dreams, but they have been only dreams." So here he is telling, the poet is replying that, so it is not my real things, these are all my dreams. These are all my thoughts that he has mentioned in the poem. "Sometimes I lack faith in my own thoughts. Why then, pure seeker of the good and true, should you hope to find me in the face of the mountain?" So he just telling that surely one day you hope that you will find the face of the mountain. The poet corresponded means being in harmony with, that is being in link with. So that's the first paragraph, children. Let's move on to the second paragraph. The poet spoke sadly, and his eyes were wet with tears. So too were those of Ernest. So here, after telling these lines, even the poet who spoke to Ernest started to cry, and his eyes were wet with tears. At the hours of sunset, look at the situation here. At the hour of sunset, it was in the evening, it was the sunset, as had long been his custom. Custom means habit. Custom means habit. Ernest was to speak to a group of neighbors in the open air. So, it was a program that was arranged by the valley people. There, Ernest has to speak to the group of neighbors in the open air. So they are moving towards the area. Together, he and the poet went to the meeting place, arm in arm. From there could be seen the great stone face. So after reaching the place, look at the next paragraph. Ernest threw a look of familiar kindness around upon his audience. So Ernest just showing his same kindness towards the audience. He began to speak to the people around him in the open area. What was in his heart and mind? So he started to speak about the people and about the valley and about the great stone face that was inside in his heart and the mind. His words had power because they agreed with his thoughts. His words had such power because they agreed, because all the people, audience, those who were gathered there, they agreed with his thoughts. And his thoughts had reality and depth. His thoughts had completely had a reality and depth because they harmonized with. Harmonized means connected with, correspondent with, agreed with. So harmonized means correspondent or agreed. So all the people of the valley, they just harmonized with the Ernest, with the life which he had always lived. So all the people of the valley, they just agreed with him, and what he said about his thoughts, which was completely with reality and depth. They were the words of life. It was not mere breath that preacher uttered. The words of life. They accepted those are the words of life. A life of good deeds and selfless love was melted into them. So the good deeds and selfless love was melted into them. The poet, as he listened, felt that the life and the character of Ernest were a nobler strain of poetry than he had ever written. The poet, as he listened, he felt the life and the character of Ernest was merely a nobler strain of poetry than he had ever written. So what he preached over there, it was completely a nobler strain of poetry expressed in his writings. His eyes filled with tears, and he said to himself that never was there so worthy a sage as that mild, sweet, thoughtful face with the glory of white hair diffused about it. Sage means wise man. So his eyes completely filled with tears while he was speaking in front of the audience in the open air. And the worthy sage, sage means wise man, mild, sweet, thoughtful face with glory white hair diffused about it. Everything, it was just appeared in front of him in the great stone face. At a distance, but clearly to be seen, high up in the golden light of the setting sun appeared the great stone face. So while he was just speaking glory, and he was just speaking in the open air in front of the people of the valley, at a distance but clearly to be seen, that was in front of the golden light of the setting sun with white mist around it. So the great stone face covered with the white mist around it, like a white hairs around the brow of Ernest. At the moment, Ernest's face took on an expression so grand that the poet was moved to throw his arm up and shout, "Behold, behold, Ernest is himself the likeness of the great stone face." So diffuse means spread all around. Diffuse means spread all around. So finally, after the speech, they could see the clear view and picture of the great stone face that resembled the appearance of the Ernest completely. The mist covered around the eyebrows and the hair, and it was completely resembled the likeness of the Ernest. And finally, "Behold, behold," everyone shouted, and they attracted and turned towards the great stone face, that it shows the Ernest's face as his likeness. So Ernest is himself the likeness of the great stone face. Finally, at last, from the great stone face, part 2, from page number 135. So look at the last paragraph and the story, concluding part of the story. It was this, our Ernest, who was the likeness of the great stone face. Then all the people looked and saw that what the poet said is true. So finally the prophecy was fulfilled. But Ernest, having finished what had to say, he don't know what to say at last, took the poet's arm and looked slowly homeward, still hoping that some wiser and better man than himself would by and by appear, bearing the resemblance of the great stone face. Finally, at last, he turned his whole body and looked towards his own dream of the prophecy, and it was the Ernest who, bearing the resemblance of the great stone face, appeared over there. So the people of the valley, they really cheerful, they were happy and with bliss, and they were happy around the Ernest. And so that's the end of the story, The Great Stone Face, written by Nathaniel Hawthorne. So children, that's all from the story, The Great Stone Face, part 1 and 2, written by Nathaniel Hawthorne. Take your textbook, read the story, write the classwork neatly, and learn the question answers which was given to you. Write the home test with your parent sign and send it to me.